And he's going to go over, I go over programming during the programming segment. He's going to go over some other facets of interesting things you can listen to on shortwave radio. Take it away, Ancient Grass.
Hello. I'm honored to be back on the program. This is Ancient_Grass_5121. I am on YouTube and on Reddit as well. I'm a shortwave listener and radio enthusiast. Now, tonight, I'd like to talk about the common digital modes that you might hear on shortwave. Now, a lot of people, when they get into shortwave, myself included, they hear certain digital modes and they don't quite know what they are. They don't know what they're listening to. And tonight, I'm hoping to kind of have you listen to some of those modes and tell you a little bit about them. So there are a ton of digital modes, and we don't have time to cover them all in this segment or on this program. So I will do my best to cover the ones that I've heard quite often and that you might find very interesting. So let's get started. So the one I like to talk about is SSTV, or slow scan television. Now this is pretty interesting because you can actually decode slow scan TV over radio, and this is kind of common on the HF band, on the AM band, and on this station, for example, on WRMI. There's a program that I've heard that has what I've heard to be SSTV, and people can decode this SSTV and view an image that is transmitted over the air. The program that I use for coding slow scan television, and the only one that I know of, is called SSTV. It's developed by a Canadian amateur radio operator, and it's a very good program. It's pretty much, you can call it plug and play, to where it automatically decodes whenever it hears slow scan television. You can use your computer's microphone, or you can use your line-in jack on your computer, and it will decode it above your radio. The way I have mine connected, and the way I found that it works best, is to run the line-out cable from my radio to the line-in jack on my computer using a USB jack. So you can use your microphone, but I've never tried it that way, and I like to talk to myself a lot, so honestly I'd rather not have any interference from noises in the room when I'm trying to decode slow scan television. And you could also use your headphone jack on your radio, but you have to have your volume adjusted so it's not too low, and it's not too high, and use your microphone as well. It's very easy to use, and you don't need to be an amateur radio operator to use it. Obviously, if you're going to transmit SSTV, you should have an amateur radio license, but to just decode it, you don't need a license. It will ask for your call sign, but you can just hit the X or cancel out of it and all you're doing is decoding for the average shortwave listener. And the nice thing is, it's not only just for amateur radio operators. There's that program on WRMI that I've heard. And also, I've came across some pirates that use SSTV, and they transmit an image over the air, which I thought was pretty cool. I have a bunch of those things on my computer. The nice thing about the program is it lets you save whatever image, it lets you copy it, and then paste it below. There's like a spot for your images. And you can also just paste the image in, and you can convert it to a PNG file and save it on your computer, or post it on the internet, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's SSTV. And the program is free to use, and you don't need to be a ham radio operator to decode these images. Speaking of decoding, the next program I'd like to talk about is FL Digi. Now, FL Digi is not plug and play. You have to set this up to take the audio from your PC's sound card. It's not that hard to do, but it's not plug and play. So you can't just start decoding right away. You have to go into the settings and select the decode from your line in on the computer. But it works very similarly to SSTV. Now, the reason why I downloaded SSTV is because FL Digi doesn't decode slow scan television, so you do need that previous program I discussed to decode SSTV. However, FL Digi is great for decoding CW, Morse code, weathercast, which I do a lot of, and RTTY, nav text, and other signals that I haven't tried yet, but they do exist in FL Digi will decode it. They have a whole bunch of different digital modes that it supports. And it's a free program, and I definitely recommend that everybody download this and check it out for themselves. It's free, you don't have anything to lose, and you won't get any viruses. Trust me, I'm very conscious about that. So, but yeah, I use FL Digi a lot, and before we go any further, I would like to talk about some of the sounds that you're going to hear. And I'd like to play some of the sounds that you're going to hear over the radio, so that way you know what it is when you go to the phone, when you have an idea of, oh, that's what that sound is. Because I'm sure you've had that thought before you came across something that sounds like aliens, and it's just some normal thing. So let's get into that. So the first one I'd like to talk about is called FT8. It's very common, and I see a lot of questions about it, like, what's the sound that I'm hearing? And I'm going to play you a clip of it so you know what FT8 sounds like. A quick description of what FT8 is: it's a ham radio digital mode that works well in areas with a lot of noise, and it's great for weak signal reception. And basically the amateur radio operators will transmit their call sign and very limited information. It's not a very information heavy mode, but it does work well with a weak signal and in areas with a lot of noise. So let's listen to what that sounds like. Okay, moving along, let's check out the sound of the HFDL, which is used to track airplanes. And this is a recording that I made myself, and a lot of people are into tracking airplanes, so let's check this out. So there you have it, that's the HFDL. Now let's move on to another one which is very commonly heard. This is the HF Stock Exchange. Now a little information on this one. The radio signals travel at the speed of light. So what the HF Stock Exchange does is it transmits data for the stock exchange over the radio because it's a lot faster than using satellite and the internet. The only problem with this is they really want to take over the entire HF space from broadcasters and amateur radio operators, so it's not a good thing, and it's not really useful information to anyone unless you're a trader. So that's a trader with a D, not a T. So let's listen to what that sounds like. This is a recording that I made myself. So you can see that's really loud and annoying, and it takes up about 30 kilohertz of space. So it's definitely a wide signal and very annoying to pick up. I guess it's not annoying if you're a trader, but you're not a trader, it's very annoying. Now we're going to move on to ALE, or ALE. This is a common digital mode that I pick up. I'm pretty sure it's used by the military, which a lot of these digital modes are. So let's listen to what that sounds like. It's basically just a short burst of data that you can pick up. I'm sure you've heard this. That's what it is. It's called ALE, and pretty sure it's associated with FL6. So being the U.S. military, it might be encrypted. Now, speaking of the U.S. military, let's talk about the other commonly heard digital mode that you probably won't be able to decode. SANAG. Now, SANAG is a digital mode used by the U.S. military, and here it sounds like a diesel engine running. So let's hear what that sounds like. And that's SANAG. Now, let's talk about DRM. DRM is a digital mode used on a broadcast. And WRMI is basically digital radio for older equipment. Now, if you don't have a WRM decoder, you won't be able to listen to the broadcast. It's not a very common mode because, with shortwave, there's a lot of fading and all the things like that. So it's not good for digital to get a lot of stock traffic. So let's listen to what it sounds like raw, and here it is. kind of just sounds like static. It's definitely different than what you'll hear beside it. It's about 10 kilohertz wide. So that's that. Now the next one I'd like to talk about is called Podar. Podar is used for measuring waves and such like that. This is what it sounds like. See, it kind of has that sweeping motion, that's the sound of the waves, and we pick this up a lot on Shortwave. If you ever heard that and was wondering what kind of strange signal this is, it's very simple, very explainable. So now let's move on to the next one. The next digital mode that I would like to talk about is called NavTech. Now NavTech is, it's common to hear, and it's something that you can use in this is NavTech that I'm using on 517 kilohertz. So technically medium wave, long wave range, but this is what it sounds like. And this is not actually going to be Alright, there you have it. That was using my Yaesu FT890 radio. The following signal that you're going to hear is called RTTY. Now, normally you cannot decode RTTY unless it's transmitted by an amateur radio operator. Most of the RTTY that I've come across on the HF band are used by government and by NATO, and they're not easily decodable. Even with FL-Digi, it's all encrypted. I'll play what that sounds like so you can hear it. Last but not least, let's talk about on television again. This is what it sounds like. Ready? This version of FSTD is called Gandhi 1. There's a lot of different ones. I usually have I'm on FSTD, auto the transmission over the fusion. That's the way I found that works the best. Also, I wanted to swing back to the HFDL. There's a program that you can use to decode these HFDL packets. However, you'll have to pay for it. It's a paid program. It's not free like FL-Digi, and I'm on FSTD, so there's that. Anyway, I enjoyed the segment. Hopefully I cleared out a few of the digital modes that you might hear on the Shortwave band. And if you found this enjoyable, please follow my YouTube channel. _graph_5121 and Reddit and username. You can find me on the subreddit Grounded Shortwave Radio. And I really hope you enjoyed the segment. Now on to the rest of the program. I'd like to thank the host for having me on the program again. Goodbye, good night, 73s.
I'm sending a signal over there to Ancient Graphs for that segment. It was really interesting and very informative. If you want to check out some more of his content, go to YouTube, ancient_graph_5121. He's got quite a few videos he's putting out over there, and it really got into the Shortwave again, big time. So go ahead and check him out. And let us know what you thought of that segment. Send us an email at VOSRINT